Hello. Hello and welcome to the Philippines. We're going uptown to Cebu City to downtown. Got some news and some updates here. And I'm downtown right now, but shortly we're going to go back to the uptown area around Fuente Osmeña Circle, and I'm walking downtown on Osmeña Boulevard. Anyway, number of warehouses, a lot of deliveries down here of materials, vegetables, and fruit from around the Philippines, and imported items as well. I'm going to cover some of the visa news, some of the tourist news, some of the travel news, a little bit of other news here as we go along. I'll also point out a number of things as I pass them. Over on the left is there's a lot of hardware stores in the downtown area. And this is not Cologne Street, but it's down on a main highway going north and south, this street I'm coming up on. Across the way over there is Plaza Independencia. During normal times, they'll have a lot of events over there. And you've got further down this road, the direction we're looking, you've got Pier 1, and further down Pier 2, Pier 3. Pier 1 is a big passenger terminal. I think Pier 2 has some passenger ferries. I've been to Pier 3, and I've caught a ferry at Pier 3 as well. Yale, more of a heavy-duty industrial contractor type hardware store down here. They've got a number of different types of hardware stores. So just depending upon what you want, you can find it here. Who do you deliver for?
From Jason Gutierrez, from this.
No, what company?
From GNT.
Okay. They pay you a daily rate?
Only per parcel, sir.
How much per parcel?
30 pieces.
30 pesos per how many parcels do you deliver average day?
Only 25 to 30 pieces.
25 to 30? Okay, very good. We have services such as UPS I occasionally see a UPS truck. DHL seems to be one of the big carriers. LBC is one of the big local carriers, parcel delivery people here in the Philippines. FedEx, there are a number of FedEx stations, and occasionally see their trucks out here as well. But these guys with their motorbikes and cars and vans, they deliver just a ton of goods every day. You got hundreds of these guys delivering 25 to 30 parcels per day on I guess they're independent contractors. And I think the minimum wage in Cebu City, it varies by what part of if you're in the bigger cities, the minimum wage is higher. I think the minimum wage is close to 500 pesos a day, about 10 US dollars. But somebody like that, he's got to make his motorbike payments out of that, as well as his fuel and maintenance payments out of that. So some of these delivery guys delivering food and stuff tell me that they, when we had the lockdown, when people couldn't get out at all, they said they were making right around 1,000 average, 1,000 pesos, about $20 a day. You get out into the provinces and the minimum wage drops. Cost of living is less, and it drops. Anyway, this is Osmeña Boulevard. Goes from Fuente Osmeña Circle all the way downtown. And anyway, the scaffolding always interests me. Quite similar to what we see in the U.S. I managed a scaffold company for some time. So I'm familiar with scaffolding, forming, and shoring type things. Always interested in how they do things here. Occasionally I see some bamboo scaffolding, and that is indeed interesting to watch them put that together and work on that with their bare feet oftentimes. This street is wider. It's a main street. It is better maintained, although it it's a bit of an obstacle course as well. It's got a lot of, there you can see on the right, some potholes or whatever you want to call it. The sidewalk is busted up, and you'll get, for instance, if there was an old street light someplace, you will get the, they'll take that street light down, but that piece of concrete is still in the middle of the sidewalk, and I've hit my feet on those a number of times walking, especially at night. Walking, you will find a number of pension houses and hotels, and in fact, we'll end this video at the GV Hotel as you get close to downtown area. A pension house, you know, I was curious when I first started planning my trip over here. What's a pension house? Do you have to be on a pension to be there? Do you have to be a certain age? And no, you don't. Oftentimes there isn't much difference between a pension house and a hotel. I don't know if the tax structure is different or why you would call it a pension house. Sometimes they're a little lower quality, but not always. Not always. So I don't know how to explain it, because there doesn't seem to be any clear definition for what it really is. I've seen some really nice pension houses, better than than some hotels. So anyway, parking motorbikes and cars on the sidewalk is very common here, because parking is a problem. If you have a vehicle, finding a place to park that, and ambulance. And that's accepted here. Occasionally, police will come and ticket people in a certain particular area. Got a pensione house down there, down that way. And when they have the big Sinologue Festival, this is usually almost always part of the parade route, and the solemn procession will come up and down this road and then go down Mango Avenue. So it's a place where people camp out to watch all that type of thing. As I said, people parking on the sidewalk, and makes it a bit challenging. Got one thing you'll see in the Philippines: a lot of security guards, private security guards with shotguns often, or holstered pistoleros. And I must admit that even though I had watched videos and done my research, it surprised me how many private security people were out there with guns in hand, alert and ready to take action if need be. And especially at banks will have 2 or 3 outside and 1 or 2 inside as well. Now let me get to a little bit of news here, travel news. The government is readying for the new normal, hoping by March to drop down to risk level 1, what they call the new normal. And anyway, let's hope that really happens. Visa extensions. There were some questions about whether immigration was extending the 30-day tourist visa, and I think it's clear now that yes, they are continuing to extend tourist visas. And depending upon the immigration department, you can extend those 30-day visas. When you come into the country, if you're from a visa-free country, which means you can fly into the Philippines without a visa, you have a passport, good for at least 6 months, and they will, unless you're a problem child, they will give you 30-day free visa. But you have to extend that. If you're staying longer, you have to extend that. You have to go to an immigration office, and they will extend it 1 month. They will extend it 2 months. Some place will extend it 6 months at a time. And the other issue, only fully vaccinated people are allowed to fly in here at the present time. There's a question why that is, because vaccinated and unvaccinated can carry the same viral load according to all the tests, the data, the science, and they can all pass the virus, get the virus, and pass the virus equally. So doesn't make much sense that they're separating people and discriminating in that way, trying to, some people think it's it's a plan. They want to divide the people because they think it's a better way to control the people. Well, that certainly is probably true that that's the way that acts. For some people, it's become a religion. It's separating families and friends, and it's not politics. There's a lot of science. The science has been evolving. There's a lot more science out there showing that those who recover from the vaccine have better immunity and much longer lasting. They're saying even up to a couple years, possibly much longer than that. A lot of the data suggests versus the vaccines that they start waning after 4 months, is everything that I've read in the science and the data. I will put a link to Dr. John Campbell. He's from Britain, the UK, and he does daily updates, and he's reviewed a lot of the data, a lot of the studies, and did a very excellent interview the other day on these items. And even one of the last reports he looked at said that some people, if they have natural immunity, if they've had the virus and recovered from it, if they have natural antibodies, that actually getting a vaccine can be harmful, is one study that he went into. And he is pretty neutral on the whole subject. He just reports on the studies and on the science. And his statement is too that the U.S. and the U.K., many other countries, are not really following the science anymore with their various declarations and the restrictions. Here in the Philippines, you'll find a few people talking about that, but nobody really doing anything about it. They are not. If they count the tens of millions of Filipinos who have recovered from the virus, certainly you have what would be called herd immunity. Now, going on to insurance requirement. If you're coming to the Philippines, you need to have 35,000 equivalent U.S. dollars for COVID insurance, and it brings up a lot of confusion because this is one of the poles that was damaged during Typhoon Odette, Super Typhoon, 2 months ago, and still a lot of damage to repair, a little bit of stuff to get cleaned up yet. There's still parts of town that do not have electricity. I think over 90% of them do. We still, 2 months later, we still don't have internet access through Sky Cable, still down. I think PLDT is doing a much better job at getting their internet back up in parts of the city, but there are issues. Anyway, the insurance situation, I've had people email me and give comments, and I have this, is it good enough? Will it qualify? Well, it brings up more questions than it does answers. They haven't made it clear how you're going to prove that. Anyway, this is a lot of times at night in particular, they'll have these COMELEC, the Commission on Elections, I believe. We have an election coming up in May of this year. A lot of electioneering going on, and they will set up checkpoints various places and times to check, are you carrying an unlicensed gun? Or are you carrying large amounts of cash that you intend to pay off the voters, buy voters with? And I've been surprised. I think they've confiscated over 1,000 firearms in the Philippines. There are some hot spots. There are certain hot spots that tend, a lot of times the NPA, the armed wing of the Communist Party, will come in and try to get a certain candidate elected, so they will. There was an article the other day about armed militias, people in certain areas hiring armed militias to go and try to intimidate people, get them to vote for their candidate. But getting back to insurance, it seems like it's going to be really up to the airlines. Contact your airline that you're going to use if you're going to come in, and find out what they require to get on, because if they don't think you have the proper insurance, they're not going to let you on the plane, because it's their responsibility to fly you back to your home. if you're not accepted. Express Inn up there. I've done a video there. In fact, I've done over 1,000 videos. Got a lot of videos, condominiums, developments, hotels, traveling, cost of living. Check out my other videos. Give me the thumbs up if you will, or even the thumbs down if you don't like these videos. It all helps to help support the algorithms, helps promote the channel. Anyway, yeah, the insurance thing isn't clear at all, and a lot of insurance policies do not state specifically. It might be $100,000 policy, but it doesn't state $35,000 for COVID specifically, up to $35,000. So, will your insurance be allowed in? I don't know. I don't know. This boulevard here used to be called Jones.
I should stop in there.
Yeah, I should stop in the Bureau of the Treasury and see if they could print me up some extra money, use some spending money. And one other issue that is confusing some right now, Cebu Governor Garcia, she's been, early on she understood the damage the lockdowns were doing, and she's been trying to open up Cebu province, and she's butted heads with some of the people up at the Capitol in Manila a few times. She stated that starting March 1st she was going to allow unvaccinated people into Cebu province as well. But it goes against the federal rules that only vaccinated can come in. And so my understanding is that the airport are not allowing unvaccinated in. So if you buy a ticket and come in and get turned around, got to fly back, that is a possibility. So the Garcia and the feds are discussing it. Various agencies don't know how it will all turn out eventually, but the feds say everybody has to go by the federal guidelines. You can become more strict, but you can't become more lenient. In reality, unless it's a big issue, in reality on the street is that life goes on. Filipinos are trying to survive after almost 2 years. They're doing everything they can to survive, and life goes on. Many very angry. I suspect a lot of politicians will be losing their seats over all this type of thing here and around the world. Anyway, let's hope for the best going into March here. In about a week and a half. Anyway, this is kind of the start of the downtown area. I'm at the GV Hotel, and you can go on my site and take a look at that. It's a interesting hotel. They've got family rooms, individual rooms, various sized rooms, as many hotels do. You can find family rooms. Anyway, everybody stay safe, stay healthy, stay informed. I'll put a link to that doctor's discussion in the description, also at the end of this video, right about here. And I'll see you next time.